Today I'm bringing you a really simple recipe that you can get on the table in under 30 minutes. So start off with a little bowl. You're going to add in some brown sugar and some cinnamon and give it a good mix. Make sure you break any large lumps of brown sugar that there might be. Then on a large baking tray, you want to lay out some baking paper and just set that aside. Also preheat your oven at this point. You're going to use some really soft butter. I have my block butter out in a butter dish, so it's really soft, but if yours isn't like that, then you can just put it in the microwave to soften it up. It's fine. Unroll your ready rolled puff pastry. Thaw it, don't be impatient like me, otherwise it'll crack like mine. Just thaw it for a couple of minutes. Then you want to spread your butter generously and evenly over the whole of your puff pastry, followed by your cinnamon and sugar mixture. Then you simply want to roll both halves of your puff pastry into the center, so the bottom, from the bottom to the center, and then from the top to the center as well, creating a classic shape for a Palmiers. Then the middle of the Palmiers, just brush it with a little bit of butter to glue both sides of the pastry together so it doesn't unroll as it's baking. It'll just help it stick together even as you're cutting them as well. Then all you need to do is chop them up into, I'd say roughly about 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeter size pieces, however fat you want them, to be honest. Then shape them by just kind of squishing both sides upwards together. That's the best way I can describe it. And then flattening the whole thing with your fingers. That'll give you the classic Palmier kind of shape. Place them on your prepared baking tray, and you can either brush them with some milk or some egg wash. And then I like to sprinkle some extra crunchy demerara sugar to give it a bit of texture on top. This is optional, you can leave it out, you don't have to do that. And then place them in a preheated oven. I'll put all the details in the description as usual. And then you have these beautiful golden Palmiers. Just listen to that crunch. These are a perfect snack to have with your tea. Hope you enjoy.